the NR-1, a compact nuclear-powered submarine for deep ocean research and engineering.
44 years after her launch from Groton, Connecticut, much of what the NR-1 did remains a mystery.
It had some unique characteristics that made it suitable for doing certain military-type operations.
While we don't want to make a habit of mirroring videos, it's kind of a waste of storage space, but it does provide some permanence. For that reason, and that this video addresses concisely the science that we know about, involved in modification of the environment using a range of high and low frequencies, we are pleased to mirror a portion of the Weather Modification 101 from Dutchsinse. The interview documents and government data is real, and we encourage our viewers to watch the entire video at YouTube channel Dutchsinse or at his website mentioned in his video. This is an excellent crash course in awareness of what could be a very, very large problem. Nuclear issues on the news may be nothing more than a distraction from the new offensive weapons the military has at its disposal.
Dutchsinse here, 8:42 p.m. Central Time on Monday, November 11th, 2013. And I've got you over here on my Facebook page, and I've been going through a series of strange events lately, guys. Let's just get right into it. I've been having to issue a response now to the Philippines news agency, who ran a full story on me and a video that I put out on my YouTube channel. And this is on November 8th. I had put out a video showing a microwave pulse that we traced back to the formation of Typhoon Haiyan, also known as Yolanda. And that's the Philippines typhoon that caused so much damage, and so many people have been hurt in this storm. And I'd put this video out on the 8th, tracing it back. Now that was as the storm was hitting, and we didn't know how much damage was currently taking place in the area, but it's just significant amount of damage has happened. Now, on the morning news in the Philippines, they issued a response debunking me, quote unquote, in the video, and they raised several important questions and say several incorrect things about me personally that I'd like to correct, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. Overall, I guess this video is probably going to be an hour long, because first we're going to have to listen to everything they say, and then I'm going to respond to each point that he makes and provide the proof that he says I don't provide in my video, which I do provide in the video. Directly below the video is a full description with all the links backing up everything I'm talking about, the science, Michio Kaku talking about it on ABC News, Weather Channel covering it, U.S. Navy, CNN. We've got the History Channel. We've got multiple documentaries on the subject. I've got peer-reviewed scientific papers, experiments done in the laboratory, all provided down below the video. Now, he says there's no information provided on past storms either, and I fully provided Sandy, Frankenstorm, Lekima, Crosa, recent typhoons. I didn't just appear on the scene here covering this current Haiyan typhoon. The reason I was even watching background microwave imagery to begin with is because of the previous storms that happened. I put out videos going back through October. We watched storm after storm form out of these pulses, and then follow-up earthquakes, which we'll take issue with in this later on in the video. We're going to respond to each point that this hit piece generates. Now, they start off by calling me a conspiracy theorist. I'd like to point out that my logo is a blown-up pyramid. I do not believe in conspiracies. I believe in either truth or lie, and we prove one or the other. We go where it leads us. Sometimes conspiracies are true. Sometimes conspiracies are false. There's so many false conspiracies that we spend half our time debunking here online. And that leads me to the person who asked this question to begin with, who's a fellow truther that I call, and it's Montegraph. Of all people, Montegraph raised the question first. That's why I made the video to begin with. He asked, is this possible? Was the typhoon created This led me to go look and see. I'd been watching previously, and of course, there it is. Forming at the same time that the typhoon starts, the microwave pulse happens and the rotation begins. If that was just one time, I'd say okay. But below the video, I've provided proof. 7 previous storms. 7. And when I say I provided links, look, I provided links. And we're not talking my own research, we're talking backed up peer-reviewed papers, documented laboratory experiments, etc. It's almost like the scientist just overlooked all that. He even said that earthquakes aren't related to frequency. Now, we're going to go through that later. First, like I said, let's listen to their response. Okay, guys? Much love. Thanks for hanging in there, and this video, like I said, is going to be pretty long. Cheers.
Conspiracy theorists are at it again. Netizens have mixed reactions on a YouTube video which claims that Typhoon Yolanda was man-made. The speaker in the video, who introduced himself as Dutchsinse, said microwave pulses from radar installations triggered the typhoon. Here are excerpts from that video.
A lot of people are asking me if I think that this current storm that's hitting the Philippines is man-made or being controlled. And I'm going to have to respond with a confident yes. Again, a confident yes that these storms are being man-made and possibly fully controlled on their paths to where their final destinations are. Here is the current storm, for instance, the strongest storm to ever form, according to several mainstream media outlets. The strongest storm to ever form just hit the Philippines with 195 mile an hour sustained winds and 235 mile per hour gusts. Now they call it over there Yolanda, the name of the storm, and we are calling it Haiyan. I think that's the designation from NOAA. So here's the storm that's currently hitting, and you can see it's just barreling across there. Well, we can follow this back, okay? You can follow this storm's formation back over here, okay? And what we've seen several times is out here near Guam, of all places, we see a large microwave spiral-shaped pulse that comes from the north and then extends to the south over Guam. Following that, we see rotation begin to develop and form into these cyclones. And it's happened time after time now. It's happened like 4 times.
All right, that is the excerpt of the video. Now, reacting to that video, Project NOAA Executive Director Dr. Mahar Lagmay tweets, the statements were, quote, incredible and illogical. He now joins us on the line to tell us more. Good afternoon, Dr. Lagmay.
Hi, PJ. Good afternoon.
Well, obviously, you've seen the video yourself. As Carmina and I were talking about it earlier, to many who are not as educated in your field may believe it, but is this true? Is there a possibility that a microwave pulse from any ultramagnetic, machine or satellite can trigger anything like that to disturb the weather?
Well, I think those claims that he was giving before he could relate the microwave to the cyclone or to the typhoon that hit the Philippines, he must first demonstrate that the microwave was the one who formed it. Mm-hmm. From the images that he was showing, it would appear that the typhoon was already developed when he was showing the microwave pulses that were being transmitted. Mm-hmm. And the second thing that I noticed was that he was also relating the microwave pulses with the occurrence of earthquakes.
And I'm showing in the video Climate Viewer, which is Google Earth, and it's overlaid with all the electromagnetic stations that we know of. And you can look at them and see where they are on the planet Earth. And I'm showing that in the video, and Stanford VLF is a program that the U.S. government sponsors, and it's through EDU, a college here in the United States, Stanford, and they run a whole program where they bounce VLF signals using high frequency from HARP, Here we go. Stanford Star Labs HAARP website. I mean, I'm just showing you guys what they have done. Here's the Wayback Machine. It goes back into the 90s. Here we are back in the year 2000. They have a website up explaining how they operate, how they generate VLF using high frequency. Now we know very low frequency is used for something called earth-penetrating tomography.
Dr. Agnew experienced the power of ELF waves firsthand back in the 1980s. He was hired by an energy company to locate oil and gas using the same kind of ELF waves at much lower frequencies to carry out his search. It's a process called earth tomography. But during one particular incident, Dr. Agnew believes his use of HAARP-like ELF waves accidentally triggered an earthquake.
It was in the spring of 1987 we arrived in Roseburg, Oregon to use our ELF technology to search for oil and gas. Setting up that day, we had a little bit different results than we expected because the instant that we energized it, there was between a 4 and 4.5 on the Richter scale earthquake that occurred. We were so amazed about what seemed to be cause and effect. We get to an area that has a high propensity for earthquakes in an area known as the megathrust of the Pacific Northwest. We turn it on and an earthquake occurs.
Dr. Agnew demonstrates how he may have triggered the quake.
This is a scale model of what the area looked like in Oregon when we scanned for oil and gas in 1987. The strata right here represents the megathrust area underneath the ground. The rock represents a potential energy set up in the ground from a tectonic stress. What we're going to do is introduce ELF waves and demonstrate that it can in fact trigger an earthquake.
In this case, Dr. Agnew is using a stereo speaker to produce the ELF waves needed for his demonstration.
They call me a conspiracy theorist. Is Michio Kaku a conspiracy theorist? I don't think so. I mean, what is it going to take? Bill Nye the Science Guy to come out next?
Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Walking on thin ice, I'm paying the price.
Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family, choose a fucking big television, choose washing machines, cars, compact displays and electrical tin openers, choose leisure wear and matching luggage, choose a three-piece suite on hire purchase and a range of fucking fabrics, choose DIY and wondering who the fuck you are on a Saturday morning, choose sitting on that couch watching mind-numbing, spirit-crushing game shows, stuffing fucking junk food into your mouth, choose rotting away at the end of it all, pissing your last in a miserable home, nothing more than an embarrassment to the selfish, fucked up brats that you've spawned to replace yourselves. Choose your future.
Class? Class? Wake up!
This is undeniable proof. These are companies that do it here in the States. Internationally, you guys are going to have to document this stuff in your countries. I can't do it all. I'm just doing it for here in the States to prove overall it's happening. Here's the NOAA weather modification form that has to be filled out. These are all .gov links. You don't have to take my word for it. You can go check each one of these links out. The current 2012 and 2013 cloud seeding operation schedules and lists we've already provided. Idaho Power, we have companies here in the States that spray to enhance the snow in the mountains so they can harvest that water to produce more energy in their hydroelectric plants. Colorado just passed some new laws regarding weather modification because they're spraying so much. Spraying silver iodide for precipitation enhancement, not SO2 for solar radiation management. There's been bills passed here in the United States to outlaw these things because they're trying to turn them into weapons. This is HR 2977. This is not conspiracy. They refer to even chemtrails in here. Weather mitigation bill to try and stop storms. There's multiple facilities built around the world that work in conjunction with each other, which I showed you in the first video. That's why I mentioned Stanford VLF to begin with. Stanford's taking part. VLF is just one portion of this whole frequency spectrum that they are manipulating and using to their ends, to certain means, to try and get things done. Okay? And we're talking from communication to weapon capability, anywhere in between. Now, in there, he says that, again, the government programs were shut down. I just showed you. Here's 2012, 2013 current operations. And then he finishes it off with, microwave conspiracies are not proved that HPM, high-powered microwaves, cannot induce weather phenomenon. Well, we have documented over 150 different cases of high-frequency pulses having a weather effect. If you don't accept those, you can come read the different papers presented, again, by the different agencies that prove that ionization, again, the stripping of electrons out of the atmosphere using frequency, produces CCN, which is the formation of cloud. They made it rain in the desert 50 times in Saudi Arabia. We have resonance technology being demonstrated to the U.S. government. Here's a company called Acquiesce. And I'll read this to you. I have a screenshot. This is from their PDF that they work with the U.S. government. And it says, over the past 10 years, the company Acquiesce has repeatedly demonstrated this technology to government and humanitarian observer groups. The proprietary weather modification system operates by utilizing resonance, and we're talking radio frequency, signals to divert oceanic atmospheric rivers into areas experiencing severe drought. The Acquiesce system does not rely on chemical or biologically hazardous materials, spraying of substances, which could potentially harm the environment. This is just one company of many that's doing it here in the States. The technology is proved. And that brings us in to the next video. Okay, so we're going to play this next video. It's from the Weather Channel, and they aired this just this past year, proving that microwaves can induce rotation. And we're talking about producing tornadoes. And they recreated the experiment in the laboratory, and it's a guy by the name of Dr. Slobodan Tepic, a dual MIT doctorate, that figured out that rotation can be developed using high-frequency microwaves. And he recreates the experiment in the laboratory using a small laser to simulate a high-powered microwave over a large distance. So outside, you would use a high-powered microwave. Inside the laboratory, you use a small little laser to heat the plate, and it simulates the outside. And it was a success. They covered this on the Weather Channel completely, which, let's go watch that next. After that, we'll get into the next portion of what the doctor said. So far, what is that? We proved him wrong twice now. First, he said that it was a conspiracy theory and it didn't exist. Well, here's the U.S. government fully talking about it. Then he said it was impossible to do. Michio Kaku and the experimenters here prove him wrong. So let's go watch the experiment. Let's hear what the Weather Channel has to say on the subject.
Oh my God. Oh my God. The whole house came apart.
Pound for pound, tornadoes are the strongest weather force on Earth. With winds so powerful, they can toss trucks like trash.
The rate of energy in just a typical tornado is several times the atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki.
So what would it take to snuff one out?
Oh my God, I hope they're okay.
You're looking at a tornado that's forming, strengthening, and then eventually dissipating.
Cold air is the enemy to tornadoes.
And we kill these tornadoes before they kill us.
Or better yet, could we turn a twister's tremendous energy into a...
Devil
this is from 2011 again, guys. There we go. That was going into the center of the storm. You see the storm still pulse after the microwave beam goes into it. And I made note of where it's coming from. It's coming from the direction of Arecibo. And it's undeniable. But that's what led us in to go look into these things. This is all the way back in 2011. It turns out most of these storms have had some kind of microwave interference happen with them, which then leads them in a certain direction.